Bridget David was a fighter. Life had dealt her a heavy blow when her husband, Emmanuel, died in 2012. She was left alone to care for their 4 young children. Grief threatened to consume her, but Bridget was determined to be strong for her children. She knew she had to be both mother and father to them. So, she packed their belongings and moved from their village in Kaduna to Abuja. She believed a fresh start in the bustling city would bring them a better life. In Abuja, Bridget found work as a seamstress. She worked tirelessly, her needle dancing through fabric late into the night. Her earnings were meager, but she stretched every naira. It was a difficult life, but Bridget faced each day with quiet determination. Her children were her world. Their laughter was her solace. Their love was her strength. Bridget was determined to give them a good life, a life filled with opportunities. She dreamed of a brighter future for them. Bridget carried the weight of her loss with grace. She taught her children to remember their father with love. She told them stories of his kindness, his laughter, and his love for them. In the quiet moments when the children were asleep, Bridget allowed herself to grieve. She missed Emmanuel terribly. His absence left a gaping hole in her heart. But she picked herself up each morning and faced the world with her head held high. Bridget was a survivor. 2 years passed. The days turned into weeks, and the weeks into months, as time seemed to slip through Bridget's fingers like sand. Life in Abuja was a struggle, but Bridget was making it work. She juggled multiple jobs, from selling goods in the bustling markets to taking on odd tasks around the neighborhood. Every day was a test of endurance and resilience. Then, in the summer of 2014, Bridget decided to visit her hometown in Kaduna. It was a decision born out of a deep longing to reconnect with her past and to give her children a glimpse of their heritage. It was time for her children to reconnect with their roots, to see the place where their parents grew up. She wanted them to experience the simplicity and beauty of village life, far removed from the chaos of the city. She wanted them to know their family, their heritage, to understand the traditions and values that had shaped their parents and grandparents. It was a decision that would change their lives forever. Little did she know, this journey would be etched in their memories for reasons she could never have anticipated. The journey was long and arduous. The roads were rough and the bus seemed to groan with every mile. The bus rattled and swayed, kicking up dust along the way. The heat was oppressive and the air inside the bus was thick and stifling. Bridget held her youngest daughter, Jennifer, close. She could feel the small, rhythmic breaths of her child against her chest, a comforting reminder of the life she was responsible for. At 5 years old, Jennifer was the baby of the family, the apple of her mother's eye. Her innocence and curiosity were a constant source of joy for Bridget. Her infectious laughter and bright smile were a ray of sunshine in Bridget's life. Every giggle, every smile was a reminder of the pure, unadulterated joy that children bring into the world. As the bus neared their destination, a sense of foreboding washed over Bridget. It was a feeling she couldn't shake off, a nagging worry that something was amiss. It was a feeling she couldn't shake off. The sky seemed to mirror her unease, with dark clouds gathering on the horizon. Their arrival in Kaduna was bittersweet. The familiar sights and sounds brought a rush of emotions. It was a mixture of joy and sorrow. Joy at seeing familiar faces, and sorrow for the time that had passed and the loved ones who were no longer there. Seeing her in-laws brought back a flood of painful memories. Memories of her late husband, of the life they had once shared. But it was important for her children to know their family, to understand where they came from, and to build a connection with their roots. The visit was going well. The children were thriving in the open spaces, their laughter echoing through the village. The children were enjoying spending time with their cousins, running through the fields, and listening to stories from their grandparents. They were learning about their heritage in the most authentic way possible. But fate, it seemed, had other plans. The tranquility of the village was about to be shattered. One afternoon, Bridget and her children were walking back from the market. The sun was beginning to set, casting long shadows on the narrow road. A reckless driver sped down the narrow road, his car careening towards them. The sound of the engine roared through the air, a harbinger of danger. Bridget instinctively pushed her children out of the way. Her heart pounded in her chest as she acted on pure maternal instinct. The car screeched to a halt, missing them by inches. The smell of burning rubber filled the air, and the driver's face was a mask of shock. But in the chaos that ensued, Jennifer was gone. The market, once a place of vibrant life, now seemed like a labyrinth of confusion and fear. One minute she was there, her small hand clutching Bridget's, and the next she had vanished. Bridget's heart sank as she frantically searched the crowd, calling out Jennifer's name, her voice tinged with desperation. Bridget refused to give up. Her resolve hardened with each setback, her determination a beacon in the growing darkness. She printed flyers with Jennifer's picture, her heart breaking with every one she posted. Each flyer was a silent scream, a plea for her daughter's return. She visited hospitals, police stations, and even traditional healers, clutching at every sliver of hope. Each visit was a journey through her worst fears and her deepest hopes. Whispers and rumors began to circulate in the village. The air was thick with speculation, each whisper a dagger to Bridget's heart. Some said Jennifer had been kidnapped, others that she had wandered off into the bush. The stories varied, but the pain they caused Bridget was the same. Bridget refused to believe any of it. She clung to her own truth, the belief that her daughter was out there, somewhere. She clung to the hope that her daughter was alive, that she would one day hold her in her arms again. This hope was her lifeline, her reason to keep going. Her search led her to the doorstep of her late husband's brother, Augustine, the man who had always been a shadowy figure in her life. Augustine, a man of considerable influence in the community, was evasive. His demeanor was cold, his answers curt. He offered little help, his words laced with a coldness that chilled Bridget to the bone. His indifference was a stark contrast to the warmth she had hoped for. He claimed to know nothing about Jennifer's disappearance. His dismissive gestures only fueled Bridget's suspicions. But Bridget saw something in his eyes, a flicker of guilt, a shadow of something he was hiding. It was a fleeting moment, but it was enough to ignite a spark of suspicion. She left his house that day with a growing suspicion that her brother-in-law knew more than he was letting on. Her resolve to uncover the truth was stronger than ever, her determination unyielding. Strength. Jennifer was out there, somewhere. Bridget could feel it in her bones, a mother's intuition that defied logic and reason. She could feel it in her bones. This hope, fragile yet persistent, was what kept her going through the darkest of times. The authorities remained indifferent, their lack of action a painful reminder of the injustice that plagued her country. Their apathy was a wound that deepened her despair. Bridget felt a growing anger towards the police, the government, the entire system that seemed rigged against ordinary citizens like her. This anger fueled her determination. They had failed her, failed Jennifer. The betrayal was a bitter pill to swallow, but it also ignited a fire within her. But she would not be silenced. Her voice, once soft and pleading, now rang out with a fierce determination. She would continue to fight for Jennifer, for herself, for the hope that one day, somehow, they would be reunited. Her journey was far from over, and her spirit remained unbroken.